Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Beast by Passion, YouTube's premier channel about all things women's football. And on the back of Luis Rubiales stealing the headlines in the world of women's football here, some great action has taken place and some big news has broken over the last few days here. And I want to do some individual videos based on some of these topics that we'll be covering today, but I just thought it would be better to just all fit them into one big video and just essentially make it a wrap up here. And we'll start things off with the Women's Champions League here, as some shocks have transpired over the last few weeks or days in fact, whereby Arsenal and Juventus have been knocked out of the Women's Champions League by Eintracht Frankfurt for Juventus and by Paris FC for the Gunners here. Now this was pretty much two intense encounters. It was a single match knockouts for both these teams, and it was of course Eintracht Frankfurt and Paris FC that came out the dominant sides here. And massive congratulations to both of those teams for pulling out what is being described as upsets. I can understand on the Eintracht Frankfurt part, but not so much Paris FC. I've done a little bit of following of women's football in general, and Paris FC have definitely been one of the better sides to watch, especially in France. They are what I classify as one of the best of the rest teams in Division 1 in France, because seriously speaking, no one can touch Olympique Lyonnais, and they're just on top of the food chain here. But Paris FC were definitely deemed as the underdogs going into this match, which was very unfair, and I think they wore that on their sleeves and really took advantage of an Arsenal team that is full of new players, new faces, and some admittedly poor player selection on the part of Jonas Ittihad, the head coach of the Arsenal women's team here, and they managed to knock out the Gunners here. And I think respect has to be given to Paris FC because they have a very good team, especially starring the likes of Chamaka Nadozie, of course, the Nigerian goalkeeper who shone brightest at the Australia and New Zealand World Cup that just played out a few weeks ago. It's not even been a month since the final, but yeah, it seems like an eternity ago. But anyway, I think a lot of respect has to go the way of Paris FC. When I was watching that match, I never considered them underdogs, and I think the results deservedly went their way in spite of Arsenal's late rally to take the game all the way to penalties, which of course Paris FC did come out on top with here. But just something I wanted to really mention as a result of these Champions League fixtures: please give the players a rest. The majority of these players who have been playing in these knockout matches, they've come from the World Cup, and immediately now they're going for international duty. Once they're back from international duty, they're immediately back into league action, and that is just crazy. That is such a short turnaround time that even the men's game has a better turnaround time in comparison here, and it shouldn't be that way. You know, players in general are fighting just an ever congesting schedule on both the men's side and the women's side, but it seems like the women are getting the short end of the stick here because, like I said, these players are coming from playing a World Cup, they're really coming back to play UCL qualifiers, and then now they're playing in their Nation League qualifiers for the European nations, and it's a lot. It is a lot, and on the back of the plague of ACL injuries that was suffered last season by these female footballers, these injuries are only gonna get more and more rampant if the scheduling is not fixed. It's already been seen already. Some players have suffered ACL injuries already in the NWSL, and it's definitely going to be a trend that continues into this season here. I won't be surprised if some big names, especially ones who had deep runs in the World Cup, are going to be out injured long term due to ACL injuries or other injuries that will be definitely fatigue related because their bodies just have not recovered from this hectic schedule. So please, the players need a rest. I cannot stress that enough. It's just so bad. The human body, yes, it is a beautiful temple and is meant to be tested towards its limits, but I think in this case and to this extent, the limits have been well over tested. But anyway, moving on to La Liga Femenino here, who I mentioned in a previous video surrounding Luis Rubiales and the Jenny Hermoso situation. I did mention that the players were going on strike due to the poor minimum wage that was being offered to them by La Liga, which was around 23,000 euros per year. Now, luckily, there has been a consensus that has been reached by La Liga and the Players Union here, and as you can see on your screen now, they have agreed to raise the annual minimum wage for the players, but it is heavily incentivized here, and as you can see on your screen right now, it is incentivized around commercial growth and revenue growth as well. So as you can see, for this season it's going to be increased to 23,000 euros depending on the growth of the competition's commercial income, and then of course 22.5 euros. It's going to go from 22.5 euros to 25,000 for next season, and then so on and so forth, as you can see on your screen. It all depends on the commercial income of the competition here, and that, in my opinion, is a very tough ask for the players and the clubs alike to achieve that required commercial income. I guess we, as the public audience, we are not privy to the necessary targets that need to be reached to justify the proper growth that will allow the players' minimum wage to be increased here, but hopefully they can manage it. It is definitely a tough ask because the women's league in general around Europe, they are still growing. They're not at the level of the NWSL, and La Liga is definitely one of those leagues that is still growing. It's still gaining reputation, still getting itself out there. Of course, the big teams like Real Madrid and particularly Barcelona are well known, especially Barcelona's women's team, which is just full of ballers from goalkeeper to striker. They definitely are at an advantage, Barcelona, and they really won't be affected by the minimum wage thing, to my knowledge at least. But hopefully the players can attract the necessary numbers and eyes to their product so they can get the money that they truly deserve. Personally, given what we have been told regarding the incentivized pay rises here, I personally would have just decided to continue the strike because, again, I do understand that Liga is under a lot of financial strains. I mean, of course, the men's league, they can't even afford to buy or pay for VAR this season, so there's no VAR in the men's La Liga this season. But at the same time, the women still do deserve something a little bit better than what they were initially receiving to allow themselves to focus and commit themselves to the football career 100%. But anyway, we will see how that develops in the coming seasons. Hopefully those targets can be reached and both the league and the players can benefit from that said increased commercial income. And finally, we have the earth-shattering news that Nigerian international right back Ashley Plumptre has signed for Al Ittihad, the Saudi Arabian side, for their women's team. Of course, Al Ittihad made the headlines earlier this year, well, not earlier, just a few months ago, for signing current Ballon d'Or holder Karim Benzema and French International World Cup winner N'Golo Kante in what is pretty much the rapid superstarification, that's not a real word, of the Saudi Pro League by the Saudi Investment Fund and all that. So Plumptre has signed for Al Ittihad, and it is pretty much a very interesting and definitely high profile move. Plumptre, of course, was one of the main stars of the Nigerian team that advanced the knockout stages of the Women's World Cup and only came up short against England in the quarterfinals. Her move is definitely interesting for many reasons. Of course, there will definitely be the people who say sports washing this and chasing the money, that just like they would level the same criticism they did with the men's players who joined the Saudi Pro League, like your Neymars and the likes. And there definitely is an argument to be had there, but at the same time there is the other side where it is definitely helping to grow the women's game in a country like Saudi Arabia, which is very repressive towards females. So there is definitely a twofold argument to be had with Plumptre's transfer here. Unlike with the men's transfers, it's very easy to see past the very substandard smoke and mirrors that they are all just going there for the money. And in Plumptre's case, I think she's definitely going there for the money. I mean, we just talked about the poor player pay packages in La Liga, and I'm sure she's getting paid a pretty penny by the Saudi Arabian club and the investors in there to join their team, especially since she was on a free So she cost them nothing, literally. So there's definitely money involved in this, as well as there being a lot of interest from the outside looking in to see what she's going to do there, as well as the inside to see what she can bring to the table here. Again, I do think that her involvement in Al Ittihad's project is definitely going to help the women in Saudi Arabia be more progressive in terms of being allowed to play sports in general and to play it for big audiences. And I definitely think that Plumptre is going to bring in some foreign eyes into the game here, especially from her Nigerian teammates and, well, not teammates, but fellow men, because if you look at the social media posts on Twitter/X from Al Ittihad, a lot of Nigerians are posting, oh, good luck to you, Ashley, and all that. So hopefully she can bring those eyes as well. And yeah, it is a very interesting transfer. I'm really on the fence about it because it's very different from the men's transfers, where I can easily just tell you they're going for the money and it's easy to see that they're going for the money. But again, for the reasons I've stated, Plumptre's signing is definitely twofold, and it's not very easy to judge it and just say exclusively it's just for the money, because yeah, women's football across the world is pretty much in its infancy, except of course in America, because yeah, that's the one good thing America is good at with their women's sports, to my knowledge at least. But apart from that, hopefully the signing goes very well for Plumptre. Hopefully she's able to progress and advance the game in Saudi Arabia for the women who are playing in Saudi Arabia. And yeah, hopefully it's not just exclusively for the money, but I mean it is, it is. But anyway, yeah, those are the three main stories I came to bring here to you today. Hopefully you found something interesting about them. What are your thoughts on all of these, especially the signing of Ashley Plumptre by Al Ittihad? What do you think of the pay issues, or the resolution of the pay issues in La Liga? And of course, please protect the players. They need a rest. I don't think the leagues will die or suffer if the players get some extended breaks. It is of utmost importance. We cannot work these players like mules. It is just bad, especially for what could perceivably be low pay as we see in La Liga here. These three stories pretty much intertwine with one another in one way or another, and it is a sign of things to come, in my opinion, to some extent with some things. But yeah, just leave your thoughts in the comments as always. I would love to hear them, and I would love to read through them and discuss with you. I love engaging with all your comments, so when you do comment, expect a response from me one way or another, by hook or by crook. I will always respond. But anyway, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you in the next video.